Hi, welcome to another episode of the Sports Psychology Podcast. Today we're going to start a new series to help sports parents and their young athletes perform better on the playing fields. With me is Georgia Miller. Georgia specializes in working with our young athletes and parents, so you have a special treat for you today. We're going to talk about what parents see in their athletes might not always be the underlying issues on the playing field. You're watching the Sports Psychology Podcast. So we often get comments from parents about their athletes not being aggressive enough on the playing fields, or they look like they're not trying or they're not giving enough effort. And often that issue might not be about effort at all, because we see athletes that tend to have fear of failure. When they have fear of failure, they're often playing tentatively and afraid to make mistakes. So it might not be about effort at all, but parents see that, well, my athlete's not giving enough effort.
An easy sign for parents to be able to tell when their athlete is not giving enough effort versus if they have a fear of failure is how they're playing in games versus how they're playing in practice. If they're showing up for practice and they're loving their sport, they're working hard, they're very committed, playing their best, and then they're showing up to the game and you don't necessarily see that same effort or the same type of play that they have in practice, that's a big sign that they might be have a little fear of failure. They might be afraid of making mistakes. Maybe they're afraid of what others might say to them, afraid of what coach might do, if coach is going to pull them right after a mistake. So that's the biggest sign that we see if an athlete has a fear of failure versus if they're just being lazy or have a lack of effort.
We see the same issue with focus. Parents will come to us and they'll say, well, my athlete just isn't focused out there. But once again, it might not be about focus. Your athlete might appear as if they're not focused, but in reality, they're just frustrated with themselves. And when they're frustrated, they're inside their head. They're overthinking. They're dwelling on the last play. So this isn't just about effort control, or it's not about being aggressive for athletes. Parents sometimes will get the wrong impression of what's going on with their athlete. That's where you need to dig in and find out what's the underlying challenge for those athletes.
If you think your athlete is being lazy, then it's probably showing up in more areas than just their games. You're probably seeing an unmotivated athlete in practice and in games across their entire sport. So a big question that we get from parents is, okay, well, how can I then identify if my athlete is just being lazy or if they have this fear of failure? Well, start asking some questions. Ask them, how are you viewing the game differently from practice? Are you afraid of making mistakes? Are you wondering what other people might think of you? Are you comparing yourself to others even? How are you feeling after, or how are you feeling going into your games versus how are you feeling going into practice? If they're giving you answers like, well, I'm a lot more nervous for games. I shouldn't make mistakes during games. I'm afraid of making mistakes. And those are good signs that they need help with their mental game. And that's where you can reach out to us for help.
One thing you can do is contact us at peaksports.com and request the AMAT test. That's the Athlete's Mental Aptitude Test, where we can find out what the underlying challenges are with your athlete. First of all, does your athlete have underlying challenges? And then secondly, what are those challenges? And then we can give you options for how you can improve those specific challenges with your athletes. All right, if you want more information about mental coaching or mental training, jump over to peaksports.com. Also, we have a lot of articles for you at kidsportspsychology.com. Articles, audios, videos that you can view there too. And you can download a free ebook there as well. All right, I want to thank Georgia for joining me on the podcast this week, and we'll see you next time.